Imagine a quiet German town in the spring of 1828. Cobblestone streets, peaceful squares, and then, out of nowhere, a boy appears. He walks like he's just learning how, clutching a letter, his eyes wide with a confusion so profound as if he is seeing the world for the very first time. Who was this boy? Where did he come from? And what kind of monster would lock a child away from the light for 16 years? This is the haunting mystery of Kaspar Hauser, the boy who became known as the Child of Europe. It was May 26, 1828, in the city of Nuremberg. A teenager, looking about 16, stumbled near the city gate. His clothes were ragged, he could barely stand, and he seemed terrified of everything and everyone. Witnesses said he spoke almost no words, just a few mumbled phrases that made no sense. He carried only 2 sealed letters. One was for a local cavalry captain. The other claimed the boy had been kept hidden since he was an infant. When the police questioned him, he could only repeat one line over and over. "I want to be a rider, like my father was." He was taken into custody, then placed in the care of a local jailer. It was there that people began to notice his truly bizarre, childlike nature. He would touch simple objects with a sense of wonder, as if he'd never seen a table or a chair before. He refused cooked food, preferring only bread and water, and loud noises would send him into a panic. It was as though he had been born, fully grown, into a world he didn't understand. Doctors examined him and were baffled. He was physically healthy, but his development was strangely stunted, almost feral. But then, slowly, Kaspar began to speak, and the story he told was a nightmare. He described growing up in total darkness, confined to a tiny cell so small he could barely stretch his legs. His only companions were a straw bed and a small wooden horse. Food and water would mysteriously appear while he slept. A man whose face he never saw would occasionally come to wash him. Then, one day, everything changed. The man taught him a few words, gave him clothes, and led him outside for the first time. Kaspar said the sunlight burned his eyes. He had never seen the sky. He had never seen another person's face. After 16 years of silence and darkness, the entire world had just exploded around him. News of the wild boy of Nuremberg spread like wildfire. Poets, scientists, and nobles flocked to see him. To the romantics of the 19th century, he was a living symbol of pure, untouched humanity. A soul uncorrupted by civilization. Professors and doctors were fascinated by his ability to learn. In just a few months, Kaspar learned to read, write, and even play the piano. He was a prodigy, absorbing the world he had been denied. But the more he learned, the more complicated his story became. He started to show flashes of intelligence, sensitivity, and memories that didn't quite fit his story of total isolation. Was he telling the whole truth? Or was he a pawn in someone else's game? Soon, a dangerous and explosive rumor began to circulate. What if Kaspar Hauser wasn't just some abandoned child? What if he was a stolen prince? Whispers claimed he was the rightful heir to the Grand Duchy of Baden, secretly switched at birth to allow another branch of the family to take the throne. If that was true, hiding him away wasn't just cruel, it was the perfect crime. And releasing him years later would be a terrible, world-shaking mistake. The ruling family of Baden vehemently denied everything, but people couldn't help but notice a striking resemblance between Kaspar and portraits of the royal family. Was it just a coincidence? Or was their denial a desperate attempt to hide their guilt? The mystery deepened in 1829. Kaspar was living with a teacher, Georg Daumer, and seemed to be thriving. But one evening, a masked man broke into the house and attacked him, striking him in the head with a blade. Kaspar barely survived. He claimed the attacker whispered, "You must die before you leave the city." From then on, he lived under constant protection. Why would anyone want to murder a harmless boy? Unless he was far from harmless. Unless his very existence was a threat to someone powerful. 4 years later, in 1833, the story reached its tragic climax. Kaspar received a mysterious letter. A stranger claimed to have proof of his royal origins and arranged to meet him in the palace gardens of Ansbach. Kaspar went to the meeting alone. He was found just minutes later, staggering and bleeding from a deep stab wound to his chest. He managed to walk home before collapsing. In his pocket was a bizarre note, written backward in mirror script. It read, "Hauser knows who I am. He must die before he tells." Kaspar Hauser died from his wound 3 days later. He was only 21. His last words were reportedly, "Many things have been said about me that are not true." Was he murdered to silence the truth about his royal blood? Or, as some skeptics suggested, did he stab himself in a desperate cry for attention that went horribly wrong? Historians are still fiercely divided. The case remains one of history's greatest unsolved crimes. Modern science has tried to crack the code. In 1996, scientists performed DNA tests on bloodstains from Kaspar's clothing, comparing them to living descendants of the Baden royal family. The results were frustratingly inconclusive, a close match, but not an exact one. Another analysis in 2002 again suggested a link, but it wasn't the definitive proof everyone had hoped for. The science only added another layer to the enigma. So, who was Kaspar Hauser? A lost prince pawn in a deadly political game. Was his story of a dark cell real? Or was it a tale he was forced to memorize and perform? Almost 200 years later, his name still echoes through Historia, haunting symbol of mystery, isolation, and lost innocence. A boy who emerged from darkness into the blinding light of the world, only to be swallowed again by the shadows of power and fear. What do you believe? Was Kaspar a royal heir, silenced by his enemies? A fraud who fooled all of Europe? Or something else entirely? Could his story hide a truth about how far people will go to bury their secrets? The mystery remains, and the truth, perhaps, is still waiting in the dark. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by mysteries like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next dive into the unknown. See you next time.